Hello everyone, Eileen here from the Lavinia Stamps DT with another video tutorial for you. Today I'm featuring one of the fabulous stamps from our July release. It's the totally gorgeous fairy called MAE, along with a pretty but also simple resist background, created using White Gesso and element inks. Thanks for being with me today. It's great to have your company and I hope that you enjoy this video. A piece of Lavinia Stamps multifarious cardstock in white, and the size of this is, let me check, 16 centimetres by 11 centimetres, so 16 in length, 11 centimetres width, and I'm using the Buds stencil from Lavinia Stamps. You can see it's well loved. It's one of my favourites, and I'm just popping this down onto the cardstock. Got a piece of copy paper underneath as well, and I've got a bit of tape here so that I've got a hinge so that I'll be able to lift up the stencil as I progress along with the gesso and the coloured inks. Okay, right, gesso. I'm using heavyweight white. As long as it's white, it doesn't matter if it's heavyweight or not. You can use any brand that you like because you're not using much of it and you're using it very thinly. So I have a spatula, and we've got these on the Lavinia Stamps website, and I'm spreading it out. Can you see that okay? Spreading it out as much as I can. I want this to be very, very thin. Lid on, white spatula, good to go. Right, I've got a cheap makeup sponge, and now I'm going to spread the gesso out even more. Why? Because I want it to be a resist, so no lumps or bumps. It's going to resist the colours, that's good, but it will also have a little bit of resist regarding the black ink that I'm using for the images. And if the gesso is too thick, then the resistance will be more, and I don't really want that. I want the image that I'm going to stamp to be absolutely sharp, and also so that it will dry. With the resist using gesso, because of the glue, some of the inks go, no, I'm not going to dry, I'm just going to sit on the top. Anyway, along to the bottom, again, just small amounts of the gesso, and I've gone right across the bottom of the cardstock, so there's the whole of the pattern there you will go through. But as I'm going up the card, I don't want to go up in a stripe, so I'm going up and then I'm moving over slightly, snaking over to the right, so there's a bit of movement there, but I don't want to go along the top, and I'm not going over to the left. So let's see. So I've got white space really. Let's see how that is. That's not bad at all. Could do with just a little bit more in this area. So I'm not putting any more on, just again spreading it out so that it's nice and thin, so that it's instant dry when it goes through that stencil. Right, so that's, I don't know if you can see that very well, but you will as I apply the ink, so you'll get the gist of the pattern that I've got. Stencil into water, I'll wash that later, along with the sponge. I know they're cheap, but it can be used again. I'm not going to waste it. Clean this up. Right. inks next. Now let's see if this is dry. Almost. By the time that I've told you about the inks that I'm using, that will be fine. Won't need to heat gun it. So I'm using Elements, Confetti, absolutely gorgeous pink, Sundance, yeah, there's a theme going here, primary colours, you guessed it, and Blue Lagoon. So I should get, as they blend together, I should get the blue, the yellow, the pink, with hints of orange, and tads, tones of green, and a bit of lavender. That's the plan. Let's see what I get. Starting off with Sundance. Now I'm going to use the lid as a palette. I saw Amanda Branson doing this, and I thought if it's good enough for Amanda, it's good enough for me. So I'm copying her. So I'm just going to put the yellow ink in and spread it around into the lid. And just testing, oh yes, that's good. Just testing to see how much I've got on. And then with a very, very soft, gentle motion, I'm going to do a circular motion so that the tip of the brush, and these are Lavinia stamp stencil brushes and they're fabulous, they are just so good for blending because of the domed head and the softness of the bristles. And I'm just skimming across the top of the surface there. So that's one. Now we're on to pink. Same thing. New brush. Into the lid. Let's just see. Oh, now that's quite dark, so need to be careful. Again, very gentle action. Let's mix it up so we've got some there. Don't want this pink to be too overpowering. So I'll leave that as that. Come back to it later. And then finally the blue. Oh, and that's got a lot in the lid already. In fact, far too much. That's very inky pad. Blue brush. Distribute that around a bit. Oh yeah, that is quite dark. So take some of that off. And then very gently. So here's the green tones coming. Here's the lavender tones coming. Oh yeah, get excited now. And then a little bit of blue to give it its own identity up a little. Bit more lavender there, I think, would be a good idea, don't you? Yeah, I think so. Right. Don't overdo it, Eileen. Okay. Now going back to a little bit of the Sundance, because I want to see if I can do a little bit more of a blend to tone down some of this blue, give me more greens. Yes. And then increase the yellow here. A bit more of an orange glow there. All right. And maybe just gently fading out with the yellow at the top, where there isn't any of the stenciled pattern. It would just give it a soft blend up there and down this side. Right. Okay, I'm liking that look. It won't stay like that because now I'm going to take off some of the ink from the gessoed areas to give me the resist relief. Damp cloth now. Oh, let's change my copy paper over. Down a bit. So a damp cloth, clean damp cloth, and don't let it dangle down into your work. across my finger here, but I'm holding it firmly in my hand, and I'm just going to go to the patterned area, just gently dabbing here to take some of that ink off. Now, if you get any muddy spots, which you might, don't worry about it, because this, as you remove the ink, it may remove some of the mud that you've got. And if it doesn't, then flip your card over and start again. It's only card. Try not to go too much into the background. I'm just going to those larger images that I know have got the gesso on them, just to remove the ink, to let the gesso whiteness shine through. Take your time. All right, I think I'm done there. So it's quite soft. It's a soft background that will enhance your image rather than overpower your image. That's what I'm looking for when you stamp, I mean. Right, now I need a heat gun now because I want to make sure that's thoroughly dry before I start the stamping. So I'm using my heated craft tool, but use a hairdryer if you haven't got one of these. I want you to see that. It's quite a nice patterned image. That's dry. Now bring on the stamp press. I'm using my Misty. Use any stamp press you have. Pop that in. The card's sort of gone a bit curled up and whatever. It will go back. It will flatten, don't worry. And if it doesn't, I'll bash it with a book later. That will help things along. Right, where's May? She's hiding from me. Here she is. This is May. She's a little bit black from the last time I used her with the ink, so just give her a clean. And dry. Beautiful day here in North Kent again. Really lovely. A few of the neighbours are out. They've got this Morris dancing club and they're all practicing this morning. Bells everywhere. Right. Okay. Down she goes in the middle, and then sort of just tweak her over a little bit to the right hand side. I'm mindful of where I'm going to stamp the word or the words, and she's about 1 centimetre up from the bottom. Should be good. And I'm using black Versafine Clair Nocturne. Now, I did find when I originally made this card that I had to stamp her twice because some of the image did catch some of the Gesso Resist. And I had to stamp it again, which is why I'm using my stamp press. Got one of these pressure tools, so handy. As I'm getting older, my hands are quite stiff sometimes. Bit of a pain getting older, isn't it? Mind you, in my head I'm 25, which I think was a good age. Old enough to know what you're doing, but young enough to sort of don't care what you're doing. Right. Yes, that's not bad. A beautiful image, in fact, of May, but not deep enough down this area. So, all right, fingers crossed. Want to increase the depth of colour in the ink, or the blackness, so that the image is really sharp. Right, fingers crossed this doesn't move. Back to the pressure tool. Let's put that over so you can see. Oh, spot on. Brilliant. I'll clean off the stamp later, promise. I just use a damp cloth to clean my stamps off. Or sometimes, if I'm cleaning a lot all at once, a little bit of warm water and just a dash of washing up detergent. Okay. Next. Yes. Now that black ink is going to take a while to dry because of the resist there from the gesso. So be patient. I'm not going to bother getting the heat gun out. I'm just going to do a few more bits and bobs to it, including blotting it, just to see how much of it isn't dry on the black. Oh, it's not too bad. Let's move that down a bit. I don't think that was in shot just now, so apologies there if it wasn't. So on with the crayons now. I'm using polychromos. You can use any crayons that you like, of course. Just doing a couple of bits with yellow, some reds and oranges. I'm not going to be too fussed. Just to put a little bit more colour on these flowers. Mind if you've got any black ink on your fingers as you're doing this. Be careful you don't spread it around the card. Guess who's been there, done that? On many occasions. So a bit of yellow, that will be fine. Then a deeper bit of yellow here. There, a bit more orangey. I bet you're impressed with my colouring skills, aren't you? Yeah, okay. Orange, right. Orange it is then. Red, why not? Oh, what's that? Magenta? No, dark red. Yeah, I mean, you can use any crayons that you like. I use crayons so that if I make a cods of it, that's a technical term for mistakes, then I can sort of rub it out and start again. That's that. And then cadmium. I want my magenta, my favourite colour. Purple. Oh. Can't find it. Is that it? No. Oh well, never mind. I'll stick with what I've got. I'm not going to start crying or anything, promise. A bit more red. And then back to the lemon. It just gives it a little bit more colour. So that's that. White pen, that would be a good idea. Now, this white pen usually works on all surfaces. When it doesn't work, that means it doesn't like the surface that you're trying it on. And it does show off when I try to use it on Gesso Resist. So you're not going to get brilliant results. It won't work as well, but it will work enough just to give it, see, look, it's really showing off in this area. It doesn't like the glue from the gesso. You can't blame it. So just enough to give it a few lines and a bit of an uplift there. A few squiggles really. It just adds a bit of extra interest. Now, going back to my crayons, I need another lemon one and a little bit, this pink. I love this pink. Oh, it's not that one. That's it, this one. This is called, oh, it's not that one either. Okay, right. Well, I can't find the pink, so I'm gonna go for orange. I don't know what I've done with all my pencils. I think MAE has been here in the middle of the night and nicked them. So a little bit of orange. I'm just grounding that stem of the flower, taking my time, still waiting for that black to dry, and it still isn't. I can still see shiny bits there. Okay, that's that. Orange sparkly pen. Now this doesn't mind the resist so much as the white pen. So I'm going to, you see the stems of the stencil, I'm just going to draw in some gold lines just to give that background a bit of a lift. Not too many, as many or as few as you want. Just to give it a bit of a glittery background. I just love that. I'm going to hold it up, see if you can see that. Can you see the glitter? No? Okay, never mind. I can. And you will if you use it. Right. That adds even more interest. Now the final words that I'm using, no, not goodbye, it is, they are with love. And I need a block for this, which I have, one of my Lavinia blocks. Just popping it on. Now I have found that if I use the grid of this mat, okay, so line my block up, can you see this all right? Line that block up so that it's absolutely straight in the grid of that, and then I can use the grid to pop down my stamp so I can see the grid underneath. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think of it myself. I nicked it from somebody else. Right, okay. Right, now black VersaFine Clear ink again. And my stamp pad. And then very carefully pop that down there. It's around about there, that'll go. Let the ink soak in and up. Yeah, that's fine. Now, apart from a few wax with a Posca paint pen, and my perfect layers, just doing a few. Sort of snowstorm in the background. Trying to avoid MAE because she's lovely and she's so crisp and sharp. I don't want to ruin her by covering her in white paint. Sort of just brings it all together though. There you go. Now, if you want to close your eyes for this bit, close your eyes, because I do get so many messages about this. So I'm off with the black Sharpie to go down the edges. Use a ruler if you want to. Just frames it in. Okay, done. And it is done. Get my board. The white paint isn't quite dry. The black image in some areas isn't quite dry, so I'm trying to avoid. I'm going to put it somewhere safe so that it can't be touched, and that black ink will dry eventually. Just needs a little bit of time. I've got a background here, just a white piece of cardstock, and it is 3 centimetres larger than the original topper. Like so, just laying that down there. And then I would, that's my layer, and then I would layer it up onto another card blank, or just make a card blank, excuse me, just make a card blank that is 3 centimetres larger. Oh dear, frog in the throat again. Have to have a drink of water. And then that's my final card. Got a tiny bit of stray ink there, so pop white pen on that, just making it worse. That'll do. I'm loving that. I enjoyed it. And here is the one that I made originally. Oh, I haven't given her anything in her hand. So, I don't know what she's holding. I've given her 3 drops of white enamel accents, as small as possible. 1, 2, 3. So she's catching them in her hand. I've loved it. Hope that you've enjoyed that. Have fun with the matting and layering. I'll let you do that because it's all boring. And I'll catch you again very soon. Thanks for looking. Have a lovely day. Bye for now.